Jose Rizal, aside from being our national hero, was also a man who experienced love just like any of us. Throughout his life, he met several women who became part of his journey. Some inspired his writings, while others gave him lessons in love and heartbreak. Today, I will focus on first two women in Rizal's love story, Segunda Katigbak and Leonor Valenzuela. Their story shows us Rizal's youthful side and his unique way of expressing affection. Let me begin with Segunda Katigbak, who is known as Rizal's first love. Segunda was born in 1860 in Lipa, Batangas. She came from a well-off and respected family, and she studied at La Concordia College in Manila. Interestingly, she was a classmate of Olympia Rizal, Jose Rizal's sister. It was through Olympia that Rizal and Segunda met in 1877. When Rizal was just 16 years old and a student at the Ateneo Municipal de Manila, Segunda was described as short with fair skin, long dark hair, and very expressive eyes. She also had a sweet and charming personality that immediately caught Rizal's attention. Rizal fell in love with her quickly, and based on historical accounts, Segunda seemed to feel the same way. They would talk, spend time together, and enjoy each other's company. Rizal even wrote about how deeply he admired her beauty and character. But sadly, their love story ended before it could even truly begin. Segunda was already engaged to Manuel Luz, a townmate from Batangas. Because of this, Rizal knew he could not continue pursuing her. He was heartbroken but chose to respect her engagement. Even though the relationship was never fulfilled, Segunda Katigbak became Rizal's first experience of young love and heartbreak. She showed him what it felt like to fall in love and also the pain of letting go. This part of Rizal's life reminds us that even a national hero like him had a very human emotions. The second woman in Rizal's love story was Leonor Valenzuela, who was fondly called Orang. Unlike Segunda, who was connected to Rizal through his sister, Leonor Valenzuela was Rizal's neighbor in Intramuros. While he was studying medicine at the University of Santo Tomas around 1878 to 1879, she came from a well-off and respectable family in Manila. Leonor was described as tall, fair, complex, and intelligent. She attracted Rizal's attention, and soon enough he began courting her. But Rizal's way of showing his love was very unique and creative. He would write her love letters using invisible ink. This ink was made from a special salt solution, and the letters could only be read when they were heated over a candle flame. Imagine receiving such a letter. It showed not only Rizal's romantic side but also his intelligence and playful creativity. Through this, we see that Rizal was not only a genius in his studies but also a clever in expressing his feelings. However, their romance was short-lived. Over time, Rizal's attention shifted to another woman, Leonor Rivera, who later became his greatest love and longest love. Because of this, Rizal's relationship with Leonor Valenzuela eventually faded and did not develop further. Still, Leonor Valenzuela's story is important because it highlights Rizal's character as a romantic and imaginative young man. She represents a stage in his life when he was experimenting with love, finding creative ways to court, and balancing his personal emotion with his academic and patriotic ambitions.
Rizal's third love was Leonor Rivera, 15 years old from 1878 to 1890, also known as the long-distance idealized but doomed love. During their relationship, Leonor's mother never liked Dr. Rizal and took away all of their communication. Devoted to Leonor, Rizal was 18 years old and almost 21. However, it was the beginning to see the Enlightenment in Europe, where the men were brave and the ladies were attractive. Dr. Rizal had a deep affection for Leonor Rivera, To enable them to write sweet nothings to one another, he even created a coded alphabet. But Leonor was soon forgotten. Dr. Rizal conveniently forgot he was engaged to her while in Europe and started dating another girl. In the end, the long-distance romance between Leonor and Dr. Rizal did not last. It ultimately became an idealized one, a tortured love affair destined to fail from the beginning. Represented by Maria Clara and Dr. Rizal's book Nole Me Tangere. Consider this to be true love. They showed genuine devotion for one another during their engagement. Rizal's fourth love was Consuelo Ortega y Reyes, 18 years old, 1884, also known as the Madrid Flirt. In Madrid, Dr. Rizal courted 18-year-old Consuelo Ortega, daughter of Senor Pablo Ortega y Rey, former Manila mayor and owner of the apartment where the Suelo Hispano-Filipino gathered on a regular basis. At that time, Rizal was 23 years old and learning how to be charming around women. They were given extra attention and he was gallantly polite to them. According to his letters, Rizal purchased chinelas, also known as slippers, sinamay cloth, and embroidered piña handkerchiefs from her sisters in Calamba to give to Consuelo. Though he played Eduardo Lete against Rizal, Consuelo accepted all of the regalos from the swains. She ultimately turned away from Rizal in favor of Eduardo, a Filipino-Spanish mestizo from Leyte who left her a year later. Rizal was not really impressed by the two-timing Consuelo, save from the fact that he joined the crowd on impulse.
And now let's move on to Rizal's fifth lover, the samurai's daughter, Seiko Usui, also known as Osei's son. She is the daughter of a samurai descendant who worked at a Japanese Imperial Museum in Tokyo. She was well educated and could speak English, which allowed her to introduce Rizal to Japanese culture. On February 28, 1888, Rizal had just arrived in Japan from Hong Kong on an invitation to accept a job offer at the Spanish legation. One day, while on the office grounds, he noticed Osei's son walking past the legation's gate and was immediately captivated by her beauty. With the assistance of a Japanese gardener, he requested to be introduced to the woman who had captured his eyes, and the gardener agreed. Rizal spoke little Japanese at the time, so the gardener acted as a translator. However, after a few minutes of conversation, they discovered that Seiko Usui spoke English and French, which relieved them because Rizal spoke both languages. When the language barrier was broken, they began to develop a relationship. Osei's son taught Rizal Japanese customs over time. They ventured out, visiting museums, galleries, and universities. They talked about the arts and culture, switching between French and English as they wanted. Their love was childlike and spirited. According to many accounts, Rizal was ready to move to Japan and have a peaceful life with his love. Unfortunately for this relationship, country-saving duties would call and he had to leave Japan for San Francisco. He never saw Osei's son again, and their affair lasted. Their love was childlike and spirited. According to many accounts, Rizal was ready to move to Japan, live with Osei's son, and have a peaceful life with his love. Unfortunately for this relationship, country-saving duties would call and he had to leave Japan for San Francisco. He never saw Osei's son again, and their affair lasted for around 2 months. And Rizal's contemporary pastime. While in London, annotating the sucesos de las Islas Filipinas, Rizal stayed in the Beckett family's home, which was within walking distance of the British Museum. Here, is where he met the eldest daughter of his landlord. Gertrude showered Rizal with the love and attention of a hopeless romantic. She even assisted Rizal in completing some of his best known sculptures, such as The Triumph of Science Over Death, The Triumph of Death Over Life, and The Prometheus Bound. While she called him Petty, he called her Getty. All of the documents, however, suggest that the sentiments were not shared by both parties. When Rizal departed London on March 19, 1889, he left Getty a composite carving of the Beckett sisters' head. According to Marcelo del Pilar, a friend of Rizal's, Rizal left London to leave Gertrude behind because of her perception of the relationship, which was the most agonizing kind of an unrequited love.
Rizal's seventh love, who is Suzanne Thiel, the clean Fanere, the naughty boy of Brussels. In 1889, Rizal stayed in Brussels. He lived with the Jacobi sisters, Marie, who was 48, and Suzanne, who was 45, whose 18-year-old niece, Petite Suzanne Jacobi Thiel, was also in the house. Some historians claim Rizal was linked to the older Suzanne, but a letter signed by Suzanne Thiel, the niece, suggests it was actually Petite Suzanne who was close to him. Petite Suzanne wrote about waiting for Rizal's letters and called him a naughty boy. While some interpret this as a lustful or forbidden love, the writer argues it may have been a playful inside joke. In Brussels, near their apartment, was a famous statue called Mannequin Pis, a urinating boy, which locals nicknamed the Naughty Boy. Rizal and Petite Suzanne could have used this as a light-hearted reference during their walks. Rizal, who was 28, and Petite Suzanne, who was 18, may have shared a sweet, innocent companionship, enjoying strolls, bistros, and conversations, while always under the supervision of her hands. Their bond was likely a brief, youthful fling, not a grand or scandalous romance. At the time, Rizal was mainly focused on the publication of El Filibusterismo in nearly Ghent. Rizal's eighth love, in 1891, who was Nelly Busted, the rich heiress. She antedated the modern prenuptial agreement while she was at the age of 19. After knowing that his long-term fiancé, Leonor Rivera, had married Charles Kipping, Rizal, while living in Paris, grew close to Nelly Busted, a cultured, intelligent, and attractive Filipina of mixed Filipino, Anglo, and French descent. Coming from a prominent family and admired for her talents, Nelly seemed to Rizal an ideal partner, especially since he was 30 and eager to start a family. He eventually proposed marriage to her. Rizal's romance with Nelly faced challenges, especially when Antonio Luna also courted her, which had nearly leading to a duel before Luna stepped aside. And Nelly required Rizal to convert to Protestantism. Rizal refused, so the proposal ended. Historians see this not as Rizal's great love, but as a rebound after Leonor Rivera short-lived, with no lasting impact, though it could have changed his future.
And the last one is Josephine Bracken. Josephine Bracken was born in Hong Kong in 1876. Her parents are James Bracken and Elizabeth McBride, but soon adopted by George Talifou. At February 5, 1895, when her adoptive father sought treatment for his failing eyesight, they went to the Pitan where she met Dr. Hisa Rizal. Rizal loved Josephine and affectionately called her Dulce Extranjera. At 1895 to 1896, while in the Pitan, without a legal paper, Rizal and Josephine lived together and had a son, who died a few hours after birth. Rizal named his son after his father, Francisco. In 1896 of July, Rizal was arrested and later imprisoned in Fort Santiago, Manila. Josephine visited him and stayed close despite danger. In 1896, of December 29, a priest reportedly blessed their union inside Rizal's cell, making them husband and wife in the eyes of some accounts. After Rizal's death, Josephine joined the revolution against Spain, aiding the Katipuneros as a nurse and career. She later returned to Hong Kong, remarried, and died of tuberculosis in 1902 at the young age of 25. Though her life was short, Josephine Bracken is remembered in Philippine history as Rizal's great love and faithful companion until his final moments.